Hey, I'm gonna just tell you something. Women be milking that baby thing too. It can't be nearly as bad as playing a basketball game with a sprained ankle.
Violet Palmer made history as the first woman to become an NBA referee.
Dee Kantner, individual, is one of the most highly regarded women's basketball officials of all time.
NBA history was made at the game. It's the first time two female officials have worked the same game.
Did you know that the NBA has seen a rise in female referees over the past few years, changing the dynamic of the game? The league is becoming more inclusive than ever before. So let's dive into the evolution of female referees and the impact that they are making in the league today. It's not just that there isn't a long history of female referees in the NBA. There isn't a lot of history of female referees in any professional U.S. sport. The 20th century had very few opportunities for female referees, but as the years progressed to the 2000s, there were a few officials starting to break through. Violet Palmer is a very important name in the history of females in the NBA. She pursued a career in officiating after playing Division II NCAA college basketball at Cal Poly Pomona. After more than a decade of work at various levels, she was finally starting to get the recognition she deserved. Palmer was initially offered the opportunity to officiate in the NCAA Division I men's tournament, also known as March Madness, in 1996. This part of her story highlights some of the difficulties that women face while trying to become professional referees. The offer was rescinded after some NCAA members said they did not want female officials for men's games. Despite that setback, Palmer was officially signed to the NBA as a top-level official in 1997. She had previously worked for the league on preseason and exhibition games, but never in a competitive environment. It was in part thanks to her excellent work on preseason and exhibition games that led to her being allowed to referee full-time. It was a huge moment for her and Dee Kantner as they signed on at the same time. But it was Palmer who would make history when on the 31st of October 1997, she officiated the Vancouver Grizzlies hosting the Dallas Mavericks. Even after making it to the NBA, she still faced a lot of criticism, even from some current players. Hall of Fame forward Charles Barkley was one of the players openly against Violet officiating NBA games. Before her debut, Chuck emphasized that the NBA was a man's game. It took a few years of Palmer and Kantner refereeing in the league for Barkley to admit that he was wrong. In 2006, she would again make history by becoming the first woman to officiate an NBA playoff game. She was certainly a trailblazer in the sport, and finished her NBA career having officiated over 900 games. Although Palmer's story ended better than it began, let's take a look at some of the reasons she faced so many hurdles getting into the game. While being a female official is by no means easy today, it was more challenging when they first entered the league. Today, more of the criticism for female officials comes from disgruntled fans, rather than those inside the organization. Before female officials were commonplace, there were plenty of people doubting their abilities. There were concerns about whether female officials would be able to control and organize NBA games. Former NBA player Dennis Scott felt that female referees would feel verbally or physically abused by the players, and that would influence their decision-making. This is one of the criticisms that doesn't really have a lot of evidence behind it. NBA players are pretty intimidating no matter who you are, but there is no particular trend of female officials being abused during games. In fact, one could say some players may be a little too flirty with the female refs. Sometimes, it was even radio broadcasters who had something offensive to say, like Cedric Maxwell during a 2007 game. Maxwell drew plenty of criticism for saying, "Go back to the kitchen and make me some bacon and eggs, would you?" to Violet Palmer during a Boston Celtics versus Houston Rockets game. It just shows that female referees always had it a little bit harder when it came to being respected in the league. Today, female officials make up about 10% of the entire officiating staff that the league has on a full-time basis. After Dee Kantner retired, there were many years where Violet Palmer was the only female official. Then when Violet retired, it went back down to just one, with Lauren Holtkamp. The opportunities have grown for female referees on a full-time or part-time basis. There are now plenty of chances for female referees to officiate in the G League, Summer League, and top-level college basketball to gain some valuable experience before moving up. The league has certainly come a long way, and in the 2023-24 season, there are 8 full-time officials, as well as many who work for the league on a part-time basis. This is a big jump from just one female official in 2016. There are many notable names in the game today. Lauren Holtkamp is the most experienced of those, having been named a full-time referee for the first time at the beginning of the 2014-15 season. When she entered the NBA, Holtkamp was one of the most experienced WNBA officials and had refereed the 2014 WNBA Conference Finals. She comes from a basketball background, having played college basketball at Drury University. Ashley Moyer-Gleich is another of the full-time staff and a young referee who has been impressive. Having been signed to the league full-time in 2018, she has developed into one of the most consistent referees in the league. Just last year, several players voted her as the best ref in the entire NBA. Natalie Sago and Jenna Schroeder are two of the newer officials in the NBA. Both have experience working in the G League and the WNBA. Together, the pair made history in January 2021 when they became the first female officials to officiate the same game. It shows just how far the league has come, that it took until 2021 for two female officials to work on the same game. Sheree Mitchell is one of the newest faces on the officiating roster, having only been signed on as a full-time staff member this season. She had previously worked as a part-time official for the NBA. Mitchell is another example of the opportunities that are now available to female officials in other leagues. She gained some valuable experience over 5 years as a college basketball referee, working in the Pac-12, West Coast Big Sky, and Western Athletic Conferences. Also had experience in the G League and the WNBA. Once again, this is an example of the NBA's investment into female officials paying off. These women were not given their roles for free. They had to work hard and gain valuable experience across other competitive basketball leagues. Then, when the time was right, they were made staff members with the NBA just like anyone else. Even though these women have certainly earned their place, there are still some challenges today. As we learned before, there's no doubt that it's easier for a female official today than it was when Violet-Palmer started back in the 1990s. The pathways are far greater, and the league is much more willing to employ female officials. Players are even much more respectful of female referees than ever before. But one of the main challenges that female referees face are from the fans. NBA fans have never been the most respectful to anyone on the court. There are plenty of examples of them going above and beyond when it comes to insulting players, coaches, and staff members personally. So the respect that female officials deserve is certainly not given all the time. Female refs often still encounter intense scrutiny that wouldn't be leveled at their male counterparts. This unfair treatment can often lead to female officials being called too sensitive. Considering how harsh fans can be on officials, it's not going to be easy for female referees to deal with annoyed fans. But at least what we're seeing is that the league has their back and is committed to increasing the diversity in the officiating teams. The pathway is certainly there for more female referees to enter the NBA, especially considering that close to 50% of the officials in the G League are women. There is certainly a bright future ahead for female officials, and more women will be able to join the ranks of full-time NBA referees. What do you think about female referees in the NBA? Put your thoughts in the comments down below. And while you're down there, hit the like button and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.